It's Wednesday, and what that means is we are playing Descent into Avernus here tonight on the channel. Um, we had some fun. We had our fun and games. We played some kids on brooms. Now it's time to get down to business because we left on somewhat of a cliffhanger last time we played this game. Um, Thank you for the cheer scenario. Thank you for the cheer. Appreciate that. So thanks everyone who are stopping out to come and hang out with us here tonight. Before we get started with the evening, just a couple of things. As always, like to encourage you to follow the channel so you can get notifications when we go live. We got plenty of things happening on the channel these days, so not a bad idea to follow the channel and have those notifications up if you like coming and hanging out with us. You can always check out the schedule. It's in the info section of the channel here. But the other place you could maybe come and see that would be in our Discord channel. So if you want to come hang out with us in between streams, please do so. We'd love to have you. Just click the link there in the chat, or you can find it also in the Discord panel in the info section of the channel. So always lots of things happening there. We're always chatting, very lively community, and sometimes we do some fun things when we don't have anything going on the channel. And tomorrow night is an odd night. I think we've grown accustomed to tuning in to see Casey running a game that he'd been running as kind of a prequel to a campaign that will be starting up soon. But that concluded last week, so we had nothing going on the channel. It seemed like a good time, in these times of COVID. We need to have a little happy hour once in a while, so we're going to be throwing one of those up tomorrow night. So all the people that are part of our community, come check that out. I'll have a link to a Zoom call, which I'll post sometime tomorrow. And that'll be tomorrow night from 6 to 8, so come hang out with us there. We also have on Friday night at 7, going to be running another one of the DCC Lankmar games. I've grown very fond of that product line and those modules. They are a ton of fun, and we have opened that up to some of our Twitch subscribers. So come hang out with us on Friday night at 7 p.m. and see what kinds of trouble they get into. We're going to be playing the module we're playing is level 1 module called Cheating Death. If you're any kind of a Terry Pratchett fan, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the personification of death from those novels, and scheming that happens. So it'll be a fun one. Yeah. So sorry, I'm reading. There's some chatter here in the chat, so I was just trying to take that in. Hey, Galaxian, good to see you. So yeah, let's reset our scene here for tonight. Previously in our campaign, these 4 characters, well, they're in hell. That's the name of the game. They are here in Avernus, under contract by Grand Duke Ulder Ravengard. Actually, a contract that was leveraged into a bigger contract by Lorem some time ago. But basically, your mission, you'll be paid handsomely. I think we left it at that when the contract was written. Handsomely. You leverage this huge contract with him to basically find a way to return the city of El Terrell back to the realms where it belongs. It is currently tethered by chains being pulled into the river Styx. Last you saw it. And there was some insight that was gained some time ago by Grand Duke Alder Ravengard of the Flaming Fist, kind of the top man of Baldur's Gate. He had at one point had an artifact called I think it was the Helm of Torm's Sight, and he saw a glimpse of an answer to saving El Terrell, which seems to rest with finding the sword that once belonged to the Archduchess of Avernus, Zariel, the sword that she wielded when she was still an angel. It's not exactly clear what the answer is to how that sword would be used to accomplish this task. We've had some chatter amongst the party about different ideas about how that might be accomplished. But you have to get to it first, and that is what the party here had been trying to do, and they had finally gotten to the point where they had found the location of this sword in a cathedral, which was sort of impossibly erected up around the location of the sword and protecting it from the corruption of the Nine Hells and of Avernus. You had tracked it down, you had laid your eyes on it when the ghost of Yale, one of Zariel's generals, one of the original Hell Riders, sort of beckoned you into maybe what seems like a distant memory or a vision of the past. Because before you could claim the sword, she pulled you into this scene of this small hamlet, this farming village of Idleglen. And upon being brought here into this memory, you saw all around you carnage and destruction happening by a large force of gnolls and demons, and you have been fighting your way through hordes and wave after wave of these things, protecting the villagers, even sort of emboldening those that could fight to try and resist the slaughter. But where we left off last time, at one end of the road, it would seem that Ianagahu, the beast of butchery, the lord of savagery, and the prince of all gnolls, has arrived to back up his forces. And that is where we left off, as he is coming charging, barreling down this road towards U4. And this is where we will do our character introductions for the evening. So please, players, give us your character name, race, class. Tell us, something about your journey getting to this moment. And once you've done that, then we'll follow up with a question to ask you. I'll have a follow-up question, which I've kind of previewed with you. So, why don't we start? I think Casey's got something.
No, I was going to say, while we're doing that, can you hit the share on the map? Because I know it was a complicated map, and I couldn't find which one it was.
Oh, yes.
But other than that, anybody can start.
I often forget my players can't see things if I don't share them. The audience is seeing everything, and then they're left in the dark. So sorry about that. So yes, the map should be up. Why don't we start off with Aplos?
Hi, my name's Casey, and I am playing Aplos, and Aplos is an elven paladin, and he's a little on the young side. He's about 70, that like teen age for maybe a little below that for elves, and super excited to be here. Just having a great time. Mr. Lorem delivered on his promise of adventure, and just went all in with it. We visited other cities. We're now in hell. We fought demons and devils and all sorts of things. We've saved at least 2 civilizations. So I mean, really, it's just been amazing. And Aplos has sort of got into this out of wide-eyed enthusiasm, and it's just, despite numerous concussions, which is probably why he's still having such a good time, because all the unpleasant bits are a little vague. So he's kind of rolling with it. It is wearing a bit, but not too bad.
So then the follow-up question for you, Aplos, in relation to Lorem, given this situation that you were in, a demon lord is barreling down the road. You guys have all dealt with some pretty terrible things, but nothing on this level. Probably not even that pit fiend in Baldur's Gate compares. And you only barely got out of that situation without some casualties. So seeing this and knowing that this very well could be the last time that you all stand together alive, what is something that you would wish to tell Lorem that under any other circumstance maybe you wouldn't, but because this is a life or death kind of situation, maybe what would that thing be?
Um, Mr. Lorem, uh, just in case we don't get through this, I did just want to let you know, I'm sorry, I lied about my age on the application. I actually can't sign a binding contract yet. And then rush forward.
Very good. Um, Next up, we have Bryn.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Ethan, and I play Bryn Herthley. She is a halfling warlock, Pact of the Fiend. So she's feeling pretty at home here, or at least she's made a home for herself here. I think with all this that's been going on, she's come at it at a different angle from Apples. Like she's finding enjoyment in it, but at a different from a different source. I think this all started with a kind of reluctant, well, someone's got to do this. We're the four people that have been dragged into it, so I guess we're doing this. So now it's she's grown much more powerful than the beginning. She's really enjoying this new power, and the fact that she can take down demons and devils with it is feeling real good about it.
And here you are in this situation with a very powerful demon barreling down the road towards you. It's probably exhilarating and exciting, but yet you still have some sense of your mortality. And even for Bryn, this is even more crucial because should you die, your soul will belong to one Dr. Blackcloak. So, with the possibility of death imminent, in relation to Aplos, what is something that you would like to say to Aplos that you might not otherwise without this threat in your awareness?
I think she said a lot to Apples already. Probably something she regrets. So I think as she's watching her childhood friend charge at this demon lord, there's just tears in her eyes, and she smiles and says, Applos, you'll make a fine lord someday.
I'm a lord now.
Very good. Next up in my list, we're going back to the top here with Evangeline.
All right. Hi, I'm Lauren, and I am playing Evangeline. She is a changeling rogue. And, honestly, her motivations for coming on this journey were that she thought that there were some people who were powerful who needed this done, and she is always looking for that kind of with powerful people who need a favor. So this has been really kind of what she expected, and getting to know the inner workings of Avernus has been very interesting for her, I think, more so than probably for some of the other people, seeing the alliances and the warlords and all that kind of stuff. And so right now, she's probably just very focused on getting this job done and, task at hand to parlay this to bigger and better things.
So then the same question to you, but in relation to Bryn. What is something that Evangeline would maybe say to Bryn, knowing that this might be your last chance to say that thing?
Oh, well, I think to Bryn, I could try to say it real succinctly, be like, Bryn, I understand why you did what you did. I do the same thing, but you need to think about if you want to become like me. And that's it.
All right. And then Lorem is up next.
Hi, my name is Kit. I play Lorem Goldshoulder, a dwarven glamour bard and the employer of all of these poor souls. Yeah, when I set out for adventure, I had assumed that upon starting my little adventuring firm, this was just going to be odd jobs. Running and slaying a small monster in some village that had no means, or running a package from one city to the other. I did not expect us to end up in hell and have the fate of hundreds of thousands of lives resting on our shoulders. As the first job my poor business ever took. So, though he's been showing it outwardly that he's handling it very well, as the situation just continues to get more and more dire, it's the weight of what we have been tasked to do is sitting heavier on his shoulder every day.
And for Lorem, this same question in relation to Evangeline. What is something that you would like to say to Evangeline in this this moment of maybe feels like inevitability, but you want to get something off your chest and say something to Evangeline? You got this one moment.
So, what I would say would actually be said to both Evangeline and Grin. Whatever you do, you get out of here alive. In that contract, I wrote both of you to become nobility. And I want to see that happen.
And I'm going to give each of you a point of inspiration for sharing those moments. And I would, man, I'm sitting here looking at this chat trying not to, like, break. So we begin. We ended with Brin's turn as Ianaga, who showed up on the battlefield here, and yeah. So little description of who you got barreling down towards you. Ianaga, who is essentially a 15-foot tall gnoll, like one of his minions. He is humongous, fangs of a hyena, and armored with bits and pieces of plate all up and down his body, trophies of those that he has killed in battle. And in his hands, he wields a menacing black iron flail that he is kind of whipping around and kind of pounding on the ground and dragging it, ripping up the road as he comes charging, barreling down the road towards you. And so we're gonna flip it on over to the top of the initiative order, and it's Aplos's turn.
Sorry, Aplos' eyes just got real big because he heard the noises. So we got big Knoll coming at us. Are the two little Knolls still there?
Yes, the two little gnolls are there, kind of actively in your combat. All about, the trees are on fire, the buildings are ablaze. Packs of gnolls are rounding up and slaughtering the townsfolk, many of who were bravely fighting after your inspiring words earlier on, but now in the sight of this behemoth, they are all losing heart and turning and fleeing the carnage.
Well, quickly, get some cover, and he'll head over to this one down here and try and clear out that southern area to not be standing hugely in the way of. If I didn't have one. Help. For reasons that I can't explain, I'm drawing arrows. I will just attack him as if I'm standing next to him, and then I'll figure out why I can't move.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, I meant to explain this earlier. I'd done this thing with the locking of tokens, so I have to accept your move. Because I did that because it'll measure like how far you're moving.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Do me a favor and share that map one more time because I hit the wrong button
sure.
trying to get out of the... Sorry. Yes, that's what I want to do, and then I wish to stab a knoll, and I will try and stab a knoll. And... No, that's not stabbing a knoll. Sorry. I want to stab a knoll with a long sword, not a long bow.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, there's a crit.
I did much better with that. All right, we'll save the spell slots even though I don't want to. And we'll swing again for the second swing. And I kind of gotta spend one now, so I will attack. And when he falls down, I'll check the swing and not do the smite.
Sounds good.
That was kind of a good day. And then Aplos will move right behind the corner there and sort of like gesture for everyone. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on!
And at the conclusion of your turn, Ianagahu will expend one of his legendary actions to come barreling down the road. Right here. And then, Knoll 2, longbow in hand, is going to aim across the field over at Evangeline and take a shot.
You jerk.
A 10 will miss. And at the conclusion of the Knoll's turn, another legendary action as he comes charging. Boom, boom, boom. Just a little bit further down the road, it becomes Impsum's turn.
Impsum is so he's just gonna stay next to Bryn. So is there a way for him to just like be beyond Bryn so when she moves, he moves?
Sure.
That's what he's gonna do. He's quivering though. This is not where he wants to be.
At the conclusion of Impsum's turn, Ianagahu continues to come barreling down the stretch here.
My take cover plan seems to be failing.
Yeah.
He is quite quick for his size.
Yeah.
And Impsum is just like invisibly flying there.
Yeah, he's invisible for sure. There's no way he would be visible at this point.
So, Ianagahu gets to right there, and Bryn, you're looking up at this towering beast as we turn to Evangeline's turn.
All right. So, quick question based on where I am. I'm kind of like in between squares here. Am I engaged with him right now, or?
He's got a pretty long reach.
All right. So, we'll say yes then.
So no matter what, the
Yeah.
answer there is, if you back up more than 10 feet, he's gonna get a.
He's gonna
shot
get
at
an
you.
attack. Okay. Then I will disengage and scamper over this way. And then I'll take a
And I
shot at
gotta
him
approve
when.
that, yeah. I'm still getting used to this. I'll get there.
Cool. And then I'm gonna take a shot at him. And I'll sneak attack since he's right up on Bryn there.
You're welcome.
starting out good.
Whatever you did to roll 20, I like the new enhancement, Alex.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh my gosh. And so many dice!
No, that's not good.
Oh no!
And you look on in disappointment as your arrow does not sink into his flesh. Like it doesn't hit the armor. Like you hit like the perfect spot, like right where like the plates. You know, there's like the almost impossible gap to hit. And your arrow definitely doesn't clink or make a noise that make contact with that metal. It just reflects off and ricochets down onto the ground. And
guys, run!
I see that Nuthouse 57 has redeemed to start a rumor. It'll be interesting to see how this rumor, whatever it is, gets interjected into the conversation. But please give us a rumor. No more than a sentence or two, and we'll see what you got. So, Evangeline's turn comes to an end. Yanagahu is out of legendary actions. It is Lorum's turn.
Okay. One, Kit, as a player, has a question. I can't remember. Did someone go and run and pray to the statue previously?
I think Aplos made like a very insincere kind of gesture to it, but not like a true, someone actually praying to it.
I prayed to it. I don't know if it's still.
Evangeline did. Okay.
I did, yes. Yeah. I did. I'm not sure if we still have that, but we did get that.
You got a bonus for an hour, but then an hour passed, I think.
Did it pass already?
Oh,
so.
Okay. I was hoping it would like bring down Asimar or
I mean,
No.
feel free to
put out.
feel free to pray more.
Yeah, go pray more, cause
I'm pretty sure if I have small legs. I don't know if you know. So, Lorum sees this terrifying creature barreling down and just absolutely looming above us, and sees that what should have, by all means, have been a kill shot by his understanding, just kind of tink off of his skin. I'm going to try and do something weird. I'm pretty sure it's been a minute since I last casted animate objects, so I'm pretty sure that token
is that's
for
what
my
that was.
because I took a bunch of Evangeline's crossbow bolts and animated them, but I am so I'm going to cast it again. I'm going to use it as at a 6th level because that's the only one I have left. I want to animate his mace out of his hands.
So I'm pretty sure animate object has to be something in your control. Well, you don't control the flail.
The verbiage.
It's not being worn or carried is in the verbiage.
So never mind. That sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. Well, I'll go ahead and cast it anyways, and I'll just revive the pile of crossbow bolts. And since I'm casting it at 6th level this time, I get 2 additional. So it's 10 arrows now, or 12 arrows now, I think. Yes. Okay. So that'll be my action. And then bonus action, can you use it right away?
I believe so. As long as you got your bonus action available to you, should be able to.
Yes, I do. Okay. So I will do that. God, it's been a while.
So while you're dishing us up
that's going to
some attack rolls, we've got some
12 d20.
Yeah, so I'll let you figure that out for me. Armor class you need to hit is 20. But we've got some inspiration being doled out here by the very generous chat. We've got an inspiration for, it looks like, Grin. I thought there was another one in there somewhere. I don't know. Players, if you see where that second one was, just let me know. Pruno's, I think, is probably redeeming each of you one as he can.
Yeah, yep, that's what it looks like. Well, earlier up, there was one for Oplos.
Oh my god, does only one of those hit? Two of those hit. What was the DC? What was his armor class?
20.
None of them, no, they all have it, +8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them hit.
5 is better than 0.
5 is better than 0.
Agreed.
+20, because it's 1d4 +4 for each dart.
All right, so number of these are kind of hitting and piercing him in parts all up and down his body.
All right, yeah, that's my turn. That's an action bonus action, and I am not moving out of his reach.
And it becomes Yinagahu's turn, who, we've got the rumor, right? So it looks like Bryn. Oh no, I got all my windows are turned. I'll have to fix that here in a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. Let's see if I can fix that. I could do that pretty quick, I think. But Yinagahu is like flail in hand, staring down at you, Bryn, and you like kind of wince, closing your eyes, waiting for the impact of that mighty weapon to come down. When you just hear from the low growl of Yinagahu speaking to you in common. He says, sniffing about you, you can feel his breath heavy on your face. You are claimed already. And he just kind of grins and looks around at Evangeline, Lorum, and Aplos, and he says, "It isn't me that you should be worried about. This one here will betray you in due time." And with that, he looks past you, Bryn, and his flail is coming down at Lorum.
Great.
A 29 to hit.
Just barely.
This one deals. He's going to use his got an ability that'll impose a little bit of extra damage on this one.
Why
In
not?
addition, 15 more points of damage on top of that. Second attack.
Oh, of course.
A 30 to hit. And with this one, a Constitution saving throw is in order. So I'll drop that on you.
For what? Is it poison?
It's a saving throw which you've made. And no, it was not for poison.
Oh.
So now a third. Although you still have to throw the damage on here from that second one. 20 points. And then the third flail attack. A 32 to hit. This one will require a wisdom saving throw. Your dizzying number of effects that you are kind of feeling as this weapon bludgeons you. An 18. You stave that off. And then the turn is now Brin's.
All right. Grin is gonna move. Let's see, 10 feet there, so still within. Not gonna provoke anything yet. And then if she's in that corner, I think. Do you accept the movement, Alex?
Oh, sorry.
Cool. She's gonna bonus action Misty Step. So that's 30 feet. Can she get on the roof of one of these buildings, like the new one?
Yeah.
All right. So she's gonna get up on the roof. And then, so that was a bonus. Or yeah, we'll say the 30 feet's up to the roof. And I think she gets. Oh, did I move the wrong one?
I don't know. I'm gonna unlock the token. I don't like that feature, but I wanted to play around with it.
And she'll take, I think, one more step back, so she's at the top of the roof. And fire her 3 Eldritch Blasts at this fella. 1.
That does hit. 7 points of damage to Yinagahu.
2. And it will push him back as well, 10 feet back. And then 3. Ugh. And she'll just say, no one's claimed me. I've only made mutually beneficial arrangements. And then I'll end my turn.
Yinagahu just pierces through the air with a howling cackle, a laughter that cuts through the din of battle. And after having just been pushed back, is gripping into the road, is all torn up at this point, starts galloping forward, pulls itself up to just right here. And then we're back to the top of the initiative order. Aplos.
So Aplos will see that the crossbow bolts had like no effect, and he pulls out one of the magical +1 daggers that we have, and he just kind of gives like a light toss over towards like the middle of the road over there, where Evangeline could maybe get to it, so it's at least out in the open. But more importantly, he's running forward for reasons that I'm not entirely sure about, and then he's gonna try and smack a demon. First, he's gonna turn on his fancy thing. And he will use his magical short sword and swing number 1.
That is a hit.
We will do regular damage and a level 1 smite, which will do this many additional radiance. And then second attack is a hit, and we will do regular damage, and we will throw a level 2 smite, which will be this many additional radiance. Well, you really should never waste time worrying about future betrayals. Just be good to the people you're near. And he's sort of like stabbing at like mid-thigh on this thing. And that's it.
At the conclusion of your turn, you're hacking at these back haunches of this beast, and he's howling now. His like laughter kind of like turns to this kind of screech. He just like whips and lashes about at both Lorem and Aplos, biting very recklessly at the two of you.
Do not like to use the word reckless.
Pay no mind to not mechanic reckless.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still don't like it.
Sometimes you have to watch your word choice. Yes, 34. Will
Yeah,
hit.
that does hit. Yes. Yeah, it does.
13 points of damage. Next one up is over at Lorem. A 30 to hit. 14 points of damage. And then, Lorem, concentration check.
You got it. Nope.
Oh no! Wait. You get a. Oh, you only get a +2 from being near me.
You
do
also
have
would have
three.
needed to make those from those earlier ones too, so the chances were probably gonna come up eventually. So that is the legendary action. Knoll 2 over here still has longbow in hand, is gonna take a shot over. I think at this point, Aplos back turned. He's gonna take a shot your way. A 14 will miss. Turns to Imsum.
Imsum's invisible, so he's gonna fly next to Bryn if he can. He's only got a fly speed of 40, but he'll dash. So he'll get there.
And after Imsum comes Evangeline.
All right, so I'm gonna go over to where the thing is, the magical. Oop. How do I actually pick it up?
I just threw a token out there.
Oh, you threw the token. Okay, so can I just? We'll just say that I have the magical
Yeah.
thing now. I picked it up. Okay, so I have that. That I think is most of my movement too. I think I calculated that was 30. So I'm gonna stay there, and I'm just gonna take a shot at this jerk over here who's taking pot shots at us. 2 can play at that game. All right. Nope. All right. And I'll give some help to Aplos and just say, Aplos, just keep doing what you're doing, I guess.
Oh yes, of course.
Laurel, it is your turn.
Okay, so mechanics question, because I don't think it's ever come up in our game before, but I know every DM plays it differently. Flanking. Does that give allies advantage if you're straight up flanking?
I don't do flanking.
Okay. All right. So if you want to bring back that token, that can be my animated objects, just so we can keep track of that. I don't expect it to move very much, but for my action, I will go ahead and cast a healing word on myself.
Oh, are you casting animate objects?
I casted that previously.
But
Because
you
I already
lost,
attacked with it once.
didn't you just?
I didn't
isn't that
roll
the
a
spell
cons-
you-
Oh, was that the concentration check
that's
that
what
you
it-
had me roll?
Yeah.
Oh, so I've lost it. Oh.
Right. Okay.
Great. Then, as my action, I will attempt to cast Thunderclap on him. Oh, that's nice. Ooh, let me change that. That should be more than it is. Ignore that. I'm high enough level that I get 3 of these, please.
This is a cantrip, yeah.
Yeah, but Thunderclap is one of the cantrips that grows with you at 11th level. By 11th level, it's 3d6, and it's only programmed to throw 1.
He made his save though.
Oh, he succeeded. Sorry.
Yeah.
I read those backwards all the time. Never mind.
Oh, gotcha,
All right, so
yeah.
then my bonus action will be to heal, cast Healing Word on myself. And that is my turn.
Yinagahu is up. Flail in hand is going to start tossing that about. Here we go. All right, the first one against Lorem. A critical hit.
It's been nice knowing you guys. Peace.
$37 points of
Yep.
damage.
I'm unconscious.
Second flail attack coming at Aplos. A 34 to hit. Deals some damage. And this one is going to come with a Constitution saving throw.
+2 to that, so 11.
11. You are paralyzed
What?
until the start of Ianagahu's next turn. And the third attack with the flail has advantage, 30 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
It's going to deal 10 points and then a wisdom saving throw. Ooh.
Yep. Yep.
That one is going to you are affected by the confusion spell until the start of Ianagahu's next turn.
Good news. I'm confused, but all I can do is hold still.
Yeah. Maybe
I
it's for
don't
the
know
party's
why I'm
best.
holding still.
So Ianagahu's turn is up. And then it is Brin's turn.
Okay. I think Bryn is gonna cast Fly on herself. And just get up in the air, 60 feet. And then start firing some Eldritch Blasts. Try to push this thing away.
That's a hit. 13 points and 10 feet this way.
Yep. Second one. Miss. Close. Third one.
21 will hit.
Sorry.
Pushing.
No, I don't want to push him at Evangeline. I think he's good
Thanks.
right where he is. Yeah, Bryn's just flying up in the air. Do we have a plan here? And I'll end my turn.
Ianagahu
Aplos is like, Statue of Liberty play!
held in place right
What is
there.
it? Oh,
Ianagahu is going to make a flail attack on Aplos. As a legendary action. A 29 will hit. This one deals an additional 2d12 damage. Oops.
Mo.
Sorry, I'm just gonna roll that naturally in there. So, an additional 12 points of damage. With that hit, Aplos, make me a strength saving throw.
I don't like all these saving throws. And I don't like that I'm rolling 12.
You get flung. The impact of this flail hits you, and you go flying, 15 feet in the air and fall down prone right here.
I like to feel that it was a little bit comical to those who are still standing because he did this perfectly erect. Just here, just a, you know,
A little funny.
a little funny, even though everyone's dying.
It becomes your turn, Aplos, but because of the paralysis, you're just laying there like a prone missile on the ground, maybe kind of wiggling a little bit.
I mean, there are lawn gnomes. He's a lawn elf. That's all I got.
I'd say it stands to reason, but you're prone.
Yeah. Oh. That argument fell in your favor.
Oh my gosh.
Yinagahu, well, moves forward. Actually moves up to where you are, Evangeline. Within five feet of you.
Alright.
And then it's the Gnoll's turn. The Gnoll is over here, sees Grin up in the air, and is going to take a shot. Try to bring you down out of the sky. A 20 will hit. 8 points of damage. Is fly concentration?
It is, yes. Oh, I forgot to hit cast. That's why. There, I casted it. Okay, so I need to make a Constitution saving throw, yeah?
Yes, please.
Oh boy.
You make it. Noel's turn comes to an end. One more legendary action left. Gonna take a swing at Evangeline.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
It's okay.
A 27 to hit.
Yeah, I'm gonna uncanny dodge that.
Makes sense to do so. The total damage... Oh, it did it that time. Okay. Total damage was 23. You'll knock that down to 11.
Okay.
So you can put that on your wound spot
Alright.
there. Impsum's turn.
Does Bryn know that her companion... No, does anyone have any healing potions? Is that a thing?
I don't.
I think so, right?
No, we're real screwed.
Hint, chat.
Yeah. Okay, then I guess.
So you would know Aplos carries a healer's kit, which will stabilize people, but it doesn't wake them up.
Yeah. I mean, that's not bad. Okay. It's a start. Bernie is gonna direct Imsum to go find Aplos and start stabilizing all the down folks with his healer's kit. So that's what Imsum will do. He can get. I think he can get to. Sorry, moving people around, but that's his plan.
Okay. Just so you know, Apollos is not yet unconscious, but Lorem is.
Oh, okay. But we need the healer's kit. So.
Oh, okay, I see. Apollos has the healer's kit. I got it.
Yeah. Yep. So he's gonna fly down, get the healer's kit. Is that like an item interaction?
Yeah. We'll just say he's you've been around. You know where Apollos keeps that on his pack.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then he'll do a movement, get the item interaction, and get the healer's kit, and then use the action to dash to move another 40 feet towards Lauren.
All right. Next up I'm scared because I see in Fantasy Grounds, Lauren, connection lost. It's your turn.
Oh no, it is. Okay.
Are you still in Fantasy Grounds?
Yeah, it's telling me that I'm still in Fantasy Grounds, so I don't know. Okay, but yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab some holy water and just like chuck it at him, because that's better than anything else I have. So I am going to, and it says for that I just do it like a improvised weapon, and it's just a range attack. So I'll just roll it into the chat, and I'm going to use one of my inspirations to really make sure I try to hit it with that. All right, and that's going to do 2d6 radiant damage. So
are you seeing rolls on your side?
I haven't rolled yet. I hit it. It was a it was a 19. My first roll was a 19, so that hit, and then I rolled a 6 and a 5.
Like it was a 19 on the d20.
19 on the d20, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And
so
then
with bonuses and such, yeah, you'll hit.
Yeah. And then it
So-
was a 6 and a 5 for the
6 and a 5. Okay, so 11 points of radiant damage as the vial splashes and starts to sizzle and burn through. You can kind of see like steam kind of rising up like an acid interaction with its flesh through the plates, the gaps in its plate armor.
And I'm going to also disengage and try to back off from him towards the statue over there. I don't know if I move myself, I probably won't move. So move my movement towards the statue is.
Gotcha. 30. You're 30 feet. Of movement,
yeah,
right?
30. Yeah.
All right. So Evangeline's turn concluded. Lorem, I turned off the automatic death saving throws, so you can go onto your sheet and click your little button to see.
He wants us
I'm in charge of my own fate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really own our death.
Although tonight, the 20s have been rolling freely, so let's see.
The 20s have been used, I think is the correct term.
Well, that's still a success. So,
Hey.
but then Ianagahu's turn is up.
And then
And Ianagahu is going to be tight on the heels of Evangeline.
Yeah.
Moving. Oops. I'm having
Funny
a
me-
little leg spike here. Alright. 5, 10, 15 gets to right here. Flail attack at the ready. First one is a 25 to hit.
Yep.
You have had a turn since you took that damage
Okay,
previously.
so I can't do the dodge then. Okay, yeah. Let me go ahead and use the dodge then.
Okay. This would be the one to do it because the
Yeah.
way if you've been, I haven't been mixing it up, so this is the big one.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I'm trying to get back into Fantasy Grounds. My life.
All right. It must be that my Fantasy Grounds is thinking at like the same times as you're coming in, because when I see you're connecting, it's like mine starts to like bug out.
No, sorry. I don't know
No,
why.
it's okay. It's just
so much.
if you're
All right.
wondering why my delay, that's why. Okay, here is the raw damage is 21. So with using your uncanny dodge, you'll take 10
Dodge.
points.
All right.
So go ahead and update that. Second attack with
Gotcha.
the flail is going to be a 25 to hit.
That will indeed.
And that one, please give me a Constitution saving throw.
All right. I think I have some sort of bonus for saving Constitution saving throws.
Sometimes you get one by being in proximity to Aplos.
Yeah, I
Too
feel
far
like
away now.
yeah, too far away now. I thought that one of my things did something, but I don't know.
We also have inspiration.
I do have inspiration. That's true. Can I use the inspiration on that?
Sure.
Try again. All right. Let's try again. Nope.
Same
Some
fate.
Worse. Yep.
And you, as this flail, the spiky bits piercing through your flesh, you also feel your body seize up and start to work against you as you become paralyzed also. And then the third attack. A critical hit.
Yay.
You end up taking 20 points of damage and a wisdom saving throw.
All right.
And with that, you're in the same kind of state as Aplos, confused, but unable to do much with in your state of confusion.
Confusion and delay here.
Grin, it is your turn.
Okay, Statue of Liberty play. Assuming I'm interpreting Atlos's directions accurately, I'm gonna move and dash, so 120 feet fly towards the statue. Is that... what's the statue? Is that a Lathlander, or...?
It is a statue of an angel, very much reminiscent of Zariel.
Hail Mary's here, so she's gonna go over there as fast as she can. So 120 feet. Let's see.
And just 1 second, let me give you a little something here as you are flying over there to look face to face with this statue. It is 30 feet tall, is made of a white marble stone, very reminiscent of the decor that was in the Citadel prior to you coming into this memory. You can see at the base of this winged angel wielding this sword is an inscription written in common. It says, Zariel, guardian of Idleglen, offer prayers to Lathander, and his light will shield thee.
Okay. I think mechanically this is an action, right? To do the prayer?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll wait till my next turn. But yes, noted. She's reading that.
And can I get the map again, Alex?
Sure.
Thanks.
All right. At the conclusion of Bryn's turn, okay, Road Killer just redeemed a ward, a natural 20 on a death saving throw. So that
Thank
could be redeemed in due time here. But first, Yinagahu is a big old meanie with his flail. Starts to wind that up and is going to take a crack at Evangeline.
So I'm assuming I can't do any of my, like, unsettling visage or anything because I'm paralyzed.
What is it?
It's, if someone makes an attack roll against me, I can use my reaction to make disadvantage on the roll.
I don't think so because I think Uncanny Dodge is a reaction.
It's a reaction.
Used that.
So, yes, I've already used that. Yeah, okay, so we're still on the thing. Yeah, then nope, that's something I can do.
The swing comes in a 23 to hit. $38 points of damage. Give me a strength saving throw.
Oh man, I'm real good at those.
and he hits you, and you go flying into the air. You knock into the side of this building. You can kind of feel it kind of crackle a bit. It's on fire currently.
Oh, yay!
And you drop prone right next to this cart.
It's cool. It's a good place to die behind a cart. I always knew it would end like this.
Aplos, you would no longer be paralyzed or confused at this point.
So Aplos like starts to prop himself up, kind of gets to seeing what's going on, and rather than standing up, he just casts Misty Step from where he is, teleports over here next to Mr. Lorum, just sort of bear hugs him, and then rolls up over the stump of the tree to land on the other side while doing a lay on hands and dropping 35 points into Lorum.
Ooh.
And like, as he's assuming they can kind of wrangle him over there. So, but actually, he might not be able to do that. So, wherever he can get him. But so as he's like waking him up, he's like, Mr. Lorum, I was kind of kidding about not being old enough. Really, contracts are useless. It's just a matter of faith in one another. And I didn't want to break that to you, but and then he's like, good luck. And then he starts to get up, like get his shield and his sword going.
All right, so you've got a death saving throw now in reserve for when someone needs it. Lorum didn't need it. Knoll 2. Well, at the conclusion of Aplos' turn, Yianagahu is going to use legendary action to get to move a bit and get to right here. Knoll 2 is going to again has sights on Grin, who is flying towards that statue. And we just have to see here, what is that distance? So I think if I target...
I'm also like 30 feet up in the air, just FYI.
Yeah, I think he's probably still going to be able to hit you with a longbow.
Oh, okay. He's got ranged weapons.
Yeah. Well, this is the knoll. This is that one little pesky knoll that had been firing at you.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fine.
The knoll is 170 feet away from Bryn.
So it's going to be at disadvantage. Misses. No crit on that. At the conclusion of the knoll's turn, Yianagahu is going to take a swing down onto Evangeline while you're prone.
I'm a real easy target right now.
A 30 will hit. 39 points of damage. Evangeline is knocked unconscious under the weight of this flail. And then it is Imsum's turn.
Okay, yeah, Imsum is right there and he sees Aplos save Lorum and he's just like, okay, fine, that's my job, but okay. And then just sees
And like on hearing that, Aplos like gives a little scream because Imsum's still invisible, and it's like, what?
Bryn says go here, I go there, he's gonna start.
Noise.
He's gonna move while still invisible towards Evangeline. So 540 feet. Yeah. So that's right next to her.
Miss Bryn, if I buy him a bell, would you put it on him?
And I think so that's 40 feet. He's gonna use an action to stabilize her with the healing kit.
Sounds good.
Still all invisible.
Thank you.
That's his turn.
Evangeline, you are stabilized, so no need to make any death saving throws.
Okay.
Laura.
But I'm just kind of there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you can do in that situation.
Yeah. Just.
But, Lorem, you are now conscious. Sounds like maybe a little bit under, kind of under some weight of Applos as you're getting this healing lay on hands, trying to pull you to safety. What would you like to do?
We need a distraction while we run away. I'm gonna use my last 4th level spell slot and I'm gonna summon a Balgura.
Okay. Balgura.
Monkey no fight.
I probably have to change the color on that, but can you, should be able to place it where you would like.
Place it over there. Alright, and then... Alright, so how's its own initiative? Okay. Yeah, as a...
Time out, because as the Balgura comes in, he's got a little tuxedo and a little bow tie, and he's got a little flask of a healing potion that he presents to you prior to running over there to duke it out with the Knoll Lord. So you can add a healing potion to your inventory from Rogue Killard.
Thank you, Jarvis.
Oh, he gave it to Imsum, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Imsum. Okay.
That was demon
Same
to
thing.
imp favor. Yeah.
See,
Intriguing.
there's a way that this blood war can be put to an end. We can have cooperation.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Next up is Yinagahu, who has Evangeline here down on the ground. Flail is coming down.
On me again?
26 will hit. Let's see.
How does that work? I don't think I'm stabilized, but I don't know, like...
23 points of damage. So you go unconscious again.
Oof.
And then he's gonna take another swing at you. And hit you. You'll take... That'll be 2 deaths failures.
Oof. Alright.
And then he's gonna hit you again.
Oh no!
So barring a really crazy roll here,
Yep.
hits you again and you are dead.
I am dead.
It's just wham, 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 and it is brutal. It is like a Mortal Kombat fatality, and it is just a mess over there.
Behind
the cart.
Behind the cart. I told you I knew I would die behind the cart.
And the chat can't believe it, but yes, like dead, like dead, indeed.
Like dead.
And then it is the Balgura's turn. It's gonna kind of be jumping up and like hitting at the back of this thing as this action is happening, as this brutality is happening. So a few attacks will it make. first one misses, and then the fists miss and miss.
Yeah.
Bryn.
Okay. All right, Zuriel, Lathander, whoever's listening, a little help here would be great.
And as you say this prayer,
Yeah, that's what it was.
or plea,
Best kind of
Desperate.
prayers, right?
you're trying to make connection with this god, who isn't really your faith or your patron, but you're familiar enough with it, and you are in a desperate hour, so you're calling out. As you do this, you watch as the sky seems ominous. The cackling demon lord is beating down on your friend over there. But suddenly you just see, you kind of gaze up as you see a single beam of light kind of pierce through that doom and that gloom. And a shift happens as Zariel herself comes flying down, basking in this radiance. The angel is followed by her gold-furred mammoth companion, who you recognize, and the two of them come down, and she begins an assault on Yianagahu, sword in hand, slashing across his chest, piercing through those plates of metal. And he's kind of stumbling backwards, just blindsided by this, holding his arm up and getting cut and slashed and hacked. You notice, those of you that are closer to that action, that Yianagahu is speaking something in Abyssal and seems to be waving his offhand, gesturing behind him. Suddenly a portal opens up behind him, an Abyssal gateway into his home, his origin. And kind of at that exact moment that he does that is when Lulu comes charging forward and knocks him backwards. And you see Yianagahu tumble backward into that portal and vanishes. All around you, you see knights on horseback, the original Hell Riders, rounding up these gnolls that have been killing these these villagers, these farmers, and they turned the tides of this battle. You held off Yianagahu long enough that he didn't slaughter everybody in that church in the village, and you are all battle worn and beaten and bloodied. You're trying to take in the fact that Evangeline is no longer breathing. You probably go over and check vitals on her.
I feel like I'm probably thoroughly smashed into the ground, so it's probably not a
Yeah,
good sight
but
over there.
you try everything that you can. Does anybody have a resurrection spell? We are at that point where someone might have a way to bring you back.
None of us are clerics. Only clerics have it. Or really high-level paladins, right?
I think I have a revivify eventually.
Okay.
I have a revivify if I can. Within the last minute, I cannot get one off, so I will need help.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure before I made my assumption there.
Mm-hmm.
But that is where we.
At the last
are
minute,
at.
how many turns has this been?
No, I would need a long rest to remember as a spell. I would need someone to cast General Repose, or something, to buy me time. And Aplos is frantically explaining that, he hits her with the the wake up paddles of lay on hands. He's like, one on the side, one on the chest, like, and that doesn't work. And he's like, look how hard he hit her. Her face basically melted. And then he's like, I know. And then he's like, does anyone have gentle repose or one of the spells I can do? I can help, but I only for a short time.
I got holy water.
I think if we inject it, maybe that'll cure the disease, but I don't think that's exactly what we're looking for here. And then he'll look towards Lulu. You can do similar magics.
And you look over in the direction of where Lulu, in magnified form, is standing next to her friend Zariel in angelic form. Wide, brilliant wings, expansive. She is kind of surveying everything herself. Lulu kind of looks at you kind of strange, and she says, "Do I know you? How do you know my name?"
Oh, that is very complicated, and I will be happy to have one of my friends explain, but unfortunately I'm very short on time. Is there any way that you or your Excellency would have the ability to spare one of your minor clerics to cast a gentle repose on our friend here?
Zariel looks down at Evangeline, and she turns and looks at you, and she says, "You fought bravely here. Who am I speaking to? What are your names?"
Well, my name is Lord Aplos Alethea, though really, introductions take a bit longer than a minute, and I only have a very limited window.
Well, Lord Aplos, you and your friends, you fought bravely. You held off the tide before just long enough that we could make it here, before too much is lost. And you see Zariel, she moves over to where Evangeline is, and she just kind of points down, and a radiance kind of drips out her fingertip and seems to splash down on Evangeline as her wounds start to almost instantaneously kind of meld back together, and she is made whole and just cleaned up. The gore and everything is washed away. And Evangeline, you are back after a few moments in the eternal darkness of your soul trying to figure out where it needs to go to in the multiverse.
It was real confusing. There were a lot of options.
Miss Bryn, Mr. Laurel, if I could get the two of you to help with this, I'm not sure how to explain. I want to warn them, but I don't think that will do any good. So how do we introduce ourselves? Pardon your excellency, I'm in a bit of a odd state.
And she's looking at you and like about to continue this conversation with you as you notice some of the other some horse, the sounds of the other knights gallop and approach, and they're kind of forming kind of a very formal military line there, kind of in deference to Zariel, and you notice as there's one man who is in like heavy plate mail, helm. Covering his face, and his pauldrons, his chest piece has a symbol of the Lord Helm, the God Helm, gauntlet with an open eye, and he addresses Zariel and says, "My lady, my recommendation is that we follow." He points to the portal. The abyssal portal is still open and kind of churning this kind of wretched energy of kind of crimson red, and he says, "If we rally our forces now, we can take the fight to Yianagahu. If defeated on his home plane, we could end him for good, that him and his ilk would never return here and do harm to these defenseless folk." And almost right on the heels of that, a dissenting opinion comes from another knight, one that looks very familiar, a woman with a pixie haircut, blonde, looks just like the ghost of Yale, who sent you here in the first place, but now in the flesh. And she's sitting upon her brilliant white horse that is adorned with imagery of Lathlander. This kind of... She's got a medallion around her neck that symbolizes the sun, and she says, "My lady, what Haruman says would endanger many more lives than we have lost yet today. These people are wounded, many of them dying. We must turn our attention to them and help them, bring them back to their feet. No amount of vengeance will do them any good." And Haruman immediately is ready to get into a debate with her, and he says, This is ludicrous. This opportunity will not last long. That portal will close. Let us not squander this chance. My lady, your knights will follow you to the ends of the world, to the very abyss itself. Say the word. I will lead the charge. You could see Zariel. It's kind of a strange thing to see a angel not resolved, unsure of herself. But she turns to you, Aplos. You were speaking with her, and she says, "What do you think, Sir Knight, Sir Lord Aplos? What would you do if you were in my shoes?"
I put my hand on Aplos's arm, as if to say, I also want to say something. But I'll let him speak.
Well, I would do as you have done and take the advice of those I trust. Mr. Lorum here is quite clever and quick. I would ask Mr. Lorum, what would you advise? Here's a buck. It's been passed to
you. You know little of our situation, but we know a bit of yours. And how that has come to be cannot be easily explained. But I would implore you to listen to Yale. And I purposely say their name because we would not know their names as strangers. So that would hopefully comes with a bit of impact.
Make a persuasion check.
Okay. And I do have a little bit more to say, but I will go ahead and say that. Persuasion. I'm good at these. 30.
And she says,
Oh yeah, you are.
Yinagahu has slaughtered many of these people I have come to know and love. Even your friend Evangeline here.
Yes. But if you were to take all of your forces into the abyss right now to follow him, how many of the dying would you deny the glory of seeing another morning?
I must admit, your words are wise, Sir Lorum. I feel it in my heart that it was very tempting to go through that portal, to stem this tide of chaos, and to take the fight to Yinagahu to ensure that he never returns here again. But I think what you are saying, and I will, to tend to these wounded, is the most merciful course of action that we can take here today. And with that, you can see she gives the order, and those on horseback start to make the ride around the not just this very small little hamlet that you were in, but the neighboring farms, and they begin to tend to the wounded and such. And it is with that this memory passes. Just kind of a brilliant light kind of fills your perception. And suddenly you are back. You are back before the dais where the sword is.
Do we still look like death? Or was it all a dream?
You everything that happened in that dream, you feel it. Those are your battle wounds that you had are real.
I immediately crumple to the floor on my hands and knees and cough up some blood.
The only one who probably looks unbloodied and unbeaten would be Evangeline, who was given this gift by Zariel.
Yeah, I'm feeling great, guys. Like, little death, lots of healing. Works out.
Even though that took place, you still feel the fatigue of battle and the aching and the all of your other resources and stuff that comes up as you wouldn't mind taking a little nappy at some point in the near future. But
the radiance of the angel, it helps. It's a good jolt.
Yes. And that
He's,
similar radiance is kind of illuminating all the stained glass imagery in this area. And you can see that the ghost of Yale is still here, staring at you all.
It was a hell of a test.
Yes.
It is a test that you all have passed. And Lulu begins to speak. Her eyes are wide and she says, I remember everything now. Idleglen was the last straw. We followed Zariel after that battle. It wasn't long after that we followed Zariel to Avernus. But unlike on that day, the evil of this place proved too much. She gave in to that desire, the desire for vengeance, the desire to conquer those that would inflict evil upon your world. She wished to repay those favors. It was too much. She fell to the forces of Avernus. And Asmodeus appeared and promised to Zariel infernal legions to take the fight and tip the balance of the blood war. She had to swear fealty to the Lord of the Nine. She accepted and became the archdevil that she is today. But not before Yale and I took her sword and brought it, it seems, to this place. We both hoped that we could guard it, safeguard it, until due time when maybe she could be redeemed. Isn't that what you're... Please, that's what you're going to do, isn't it? Isn't it?
Lulu, dear. We hope.
Oh.
Dramatic pause. No, don't lock up.
No!
If you
Maybe.
die in the dream, you die for real.
It's true! I can still hear you. Can y'all hear me?
Yes,
Thank
we,
Now we can.
we hear you,
Oh.
yes.
Okay, y'all are still frozen for me, but I can hear you. Okay. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Yep. But not now.
But not anymore.
For now.
Maybe this is our time to take a break.
I'm in a break.
So we'll take a 5-minute break, and hopefully we get... I'm anxiously awaiting to hear what Evangeline was going to say. Probably going to give Lulu a little bit of a School of Hard Knocks truth here. But thanks, everyone, for coming and hanging out with us through a big old Demon Lord battle. Everyone's okay. We had a little panic, but it was okay. I think Lauren's coming back, but we'll still take our break just to double check this, and I'll reset the screens and everything like that. So we'll be right back. All right, we are back. We little technical difficulty, so we had an abrupt pause in the conversation that was happening. But for those of you just checking in with us, our heroes have just left a memory of times past when Zariel was still an angel, and have passed a test. It would seem that Yale put them through to see if they were worthy of perhaps being those that could wield this sword. It seems that also because of this event, Lulu has declared, had this epiphany, is very excited as she is shouting at the characters that she kind of remembers the whole transition, is maybe coming to grips a little bit maybe with the fact that Zariel isn't as pure. She does seem to be acknowledging a little bit that she had noticed at times Zariel had this kind of vengeful side to her. And I think that Evangeline was about to set Lulu straight as you were talking with the Hollyphant.
Yes. I was just saying, Lulu, dear, we're going to try all we can to redeem her, but you have to be prepared that, well, there's a possibility it might not be possible.
And Lulu, of course, just shakes her head at you and says, I don't accept that. I don't accept that. I know that there's still good in her.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but this place corrupts you, Lulu. I mean, haven't you felt it a little bit? It depletes some of your soul. And, well, she's been here a long time.
There's also the issue of the contract that she signed with Asmodeus. We don't know the terms of that contract. If she breaks it, it could be far more catastrophic than, what we're dealing with right now.
Well, maybe the sword has the answer to help her get out of it. Yes, that must be it.
I turned to look
That's
at
our
the
hope,
ghost.
too.
I turned to look at the ghost of Yale, if it's still there.
Yep.
And just like as soon as Lulu says that, kind of expectant, like without saying a word, can it?
Yale says, the details of what happened, I do not know. I don't know the details of that contract. I suspect no one does but those two that were a party to it. I know not how you will use this sword, but I am in agreement with Lulu. I believe that there is still good in Zariel. I believe that there is a possibility that you might be able to use this sword to turn her, to help her remember who she was, what she stood for, her faith. But that is not my choice to make. You have passed the test, and you have fulfilled the requirement that I have to allow you the opportunity to wield this blade. One of you will have to figure out who that will be. But know this: in order to take this sword with you, one of you will need to wield it. One of you will need to take it. A hero who wields this blade exists no longer. So I ask, which of you is brave enough to draw this blade and be gone forever? And with that, you just see her spirit vanish from view. She has...
Wait, no.
I have some clarifying questions.
You may have clarifying questions, but she is not here to help you with that clarification.
Lulu, what did that mean?
And
Gone.
Lulu says, well, the one who wields this blade has to give themselves to good, to justice, to protect others. You have to become something more than yourself to wield Zariel's blade.
Okay, but, I mean, practically speaking, does she mean that you won't exist? Like, in a metaphorical sense, you're a legend, or are you? What does that mean exactly?
Lulu just kind of frowns and she says, I guess it's sort of hard to explain, but you'll become something more than you are now if you wield it.
And
Well-
I take it you can't go back.
Mm-mm.
Like while
But
this
it
is
seems-
happening, good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it also seems that you'll be something less than you are too, though.
Lulu says, no, I don't think so. It's just different. It's like, well,
Kind of.
it's like it being a sword. It's like being an instrument. You give yourself to something bigger than you. You have to relinquish some amount of autonomy.
Okay.
I'm just looking back and forth between Aplos and Bryn.
Yeah, I'm thinking giving up any measure of autonomy doesn't sound like something that Evangeline would be signing up for.
As you're looking over at Aplos, you can see him like working on like some, and you've seen him do like little bits of magic. He's working on like a little cantrip in his hand, and does like a path, and he looks at whatever he does, and then he paths again, and paths again, and then eventually he holds out his palm towards Lulu. Lulu, is this a celestial butterfly? And he's recreated one of the things that we saw in Lulu's dream way back when.
She says, oh, I don't know if it truly is, but it really does look like one. It's
Well,
beautiful.
I meant, yes, does it look like one? Because I didn't know what one of these looked like until I came to Hell. So there is always a little bit of hope. And I just wanted to point that out. So with that, I think there will always be a little bit of hope for Zariel, but you must remember she's been falling for quite some time now. It takes a while to climb back. So when we say we're going to help her, you must remember she has to help herself back up first.
Well,
We can encourage, but we shouldn't force. If we force, that's not saving anyone.
well, then we must encourage. She needs help. She can't do it on her own.
Well, yes.
Like you
and
said,
we should
she's
give
been
her the
falling.
opportunity.
Yes.
Yes. And that's what I think Miss Evangeline was trying to get across is we can offer the help, but Zariel has to wish to redeem herself as well. We can encourage her, of course, but we wouldn't want to force her. That might actually destroy her. Now, as to the sword, I'm not a big fan of becoming an instrument, especially of something that sounds like divine will. That's a different type of paladin. But we've got a lot to do, and Miss Bryn has a storied past with weapons that influence actions.
Bryn looks over at Aplos, and then she looks over at Evangeline, and then she looks over at Laurent, and she just smiles and says, well, this is going to be interesting, and I imagine this is going to be all sorts of fun and legal trouble for you. And
Well,
she
no.
smiles and just grabs the sword.
You move to try to grab the sword, and you find like your hand is unable to like draw itself any closer. And then you just hear, my, Bryn. And you look like behind you, you can see Black Cloak just kind of sitting there. He's got his arms folded up. He's leaning against like the entranceway to the Citadel area, and he says, No. He needs to have ownership of your soul. Wield that sword.
I just step out towards Black Cloak. I'll trade my soul for hers.
Wait, whoa, what? No, that's not necessary. Black Cloak, if you, I just want to see what would happen. I mean, if you want to pull the sword, Black Cloak, I mean, we're not gonna stop you.
Apple's is like moving way faster towards the sword than Black Cloak could. like that's a no. No.
I mean, for all we know, he could be vaporized.
So-
That is true.
Apples, you move to pull out the sword.
Yeah, like when sounded like there was an actual risk of Black Cloak getting the sword. Apple's like, oh wait a second, zoink. He's like,
So it's kind of, yeah. There's a lot happening. So Laura, you offer him this deal, and Black Cloak is like about to like launch into this. You know, he's gonna try to get a better deal. He's like, well, a soul for a soul. I don't see why I do that. I already got one soul. I need more than one soul. I don't wanna complicate matters. And he's going yammering on, and then Applos, like Grin makes a suggestion about pulling the sword. Applos goes over there and has no problem. You've made no such contracts with devils and such. So you go over and you pull the sword of Zariel out.
Applos is like, I guess it's no worse than those who are helping us in the demon grinder.
And you attune to this blade immediately as you touch onto the hilt. And there's sort of an incredible transformation that your conversation with Black Cloak becomes so insignificant, like the second that Applos lays his hands on the hilt. You sprout beautiful wings that protrude out from your back. Your eyes begin to glow. You no longer have pupils and such, just little blips of blue azure light coming from your eye sockets. In fact, every piece of gear and equipment that you own sort of becomes overcome by this like celestial pure white glow and coloration. Your voice, as you begin to speak, sort of has this sort of musical, angelic kind of tenor to it. In due time, there are going to be some new personality traits that will emerge. I'm not sure. Well, roll me a D8, a D6, and another D6.
A D8. A 1, a D6, a 2, and another D6, a 1.
Applos
I like that noise.
You're gonna hate this. I don't know if the player's gonna hate it or if Applos, the character, is gonna like die a little bit. You'll be becoming a new character kind of as a result of pulling the sword. So I don't think this one's much of a change maybe from Applos, but you treat everyone, enemies and all, with respect, utmost respect at all times.
Okay.
Honor is sort of a big part of your personality now. This is the one that I think is going to hurt a little bit. Faith is now one of your ideals. You choose to follow the tenets of a particular lawful good deity. So it would be big change here.
All right, that'll take me a second to logic out, but I'll get there.
You have a favorite religious hymn that suddenly you are very familiar with. Probably lines up right along with that new faith of yours that you're always humming under your breath now that you have changed and become an angel.
So Applos is like getting whooshed. And as he's doing this, he like frantically reaches in his pouch because he can see like all his gear changing, all the little nubs like popping off of his armor and everything sort of smoothing out and all that. And he grabs an apple out of his pocket and he lifts it up, and then it turns into like a pear or some sort of celestial fruit that's not an apple. And you can just see he's a little crestfallen. And then a few seconds later, he's like, "Wait a second, I get it. Gods. They're just nobles. Gods are to mortals what nobles are to commoners. It all makes sense now." And
Grin is just fuming and giving the most humorous stare at Blackcloak. Like, this is all your fault.
Black Cloak's
And
like, what did you want me to do?
I'll need to do. My pantheon has fallen out of my head, so I'll find a god that works. But that's. I don't think it's Lathander. I don't like Lathander. But
Leaned a little too hard into the lawful and not enough into the good.
And a flaw for you, Aplos. This one I think he can deal with. Your flaw is you're flawless, at least in your mind. I mean, you know, what's wrong now? You've got this sword. You're this new higher being.
No.
This is literally Aplos New Game Plus.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all we have done is make
All of the moral correction we've been trying to hammer into him is just gone.
Oh shit! Gonna have these lectures about
The
how
narcissist angel.
we just need to listen to the gods who know what's good for us. And
It's called the divine right to rule, and he has earned it.
oh my god!
I don't think he's that insufferable about it because he wasn't super insufferable about nobility all the time.
From your perspective, from the people you were talking down to, though.
His perspective. He's like, I have so much more etiquette to study.
Mm-hmm.
There is a ton to the sword, Casey. It is now in your inventory. You got a fly speed. You got true sight. You've got.
Oh man.
Your charisma is 20. Yeah, the list goes on and on and on.
Okay. Weird stuff happened.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back and compare my sword to that other guy's sword, you know, but I don't know that sword measuring is really. That might be beneath me now.
Yeah, it's unbecoming, honey.
Black Cloak looks at you, Lorum, and he says, about that proposal, as you start to feel like kind of a shuddering as the stained glass shatter. He says, yep, we'll have to catch you another time, Lorum. We'd love to. And he just snaps his fingers and blinks out, teleports away, and you're feeling like there's some kind of massive, tectonic shift happening as pieces of the Citadel are crashing down all about you.
Run.
Let's go.
Right, yes. Angel Aplos, is there something you can do to help us, like, get out of here quickly?
Well, I can fly. I don't know that that's super helpful. I've been an angel for. I'm very pretty, I think.
Can you carry us, Aplos? Can you carry me? Can you bring us up?
Lulu is still.
Wait, Lulu,
could
you have your memories back?
Yes, get big again, please.
Lulu does so, and loud trumpet from her trunk as she inflates into the size of that mammoth beast, this huge creature. And she says, "Get on!" And those of you that need to can jump on board the Lulu train, and at least one of you,
Yep.
just by default here, doesn't need it, but she leads you up straight through the roof and kind of crashes through the ceiling as you fly straight up and just see this bleeding scab that had grown over the Citadel just kind of like starts to implode upon itself. And you can kind of hear, you may be seeing a couple of scurrying little demons, like out of little tunnels that they have dug. They were trying to get that massive creature dug out of there. You see a few of them scurry away, but you get the sense that most of them were buried in the wreckage and the rubble as you were back in the hellscape, the flat plains of Avernus. The river Styx, not far off in your view.
So, we got the sword.
We did.
We didn't plan this far.
We didn't.
So I guess the next step is Cesariel?
Is it?
Well, what encouragement do we have for Lady Zariel, about redeeming herself?
Well, I mean, you're angelic now. What would you need to hear to be redeemed?
Well, I've never really fallen.
What would you need to hear to give up everything that you've just gotten?
Not much, actually. Self-sacrifice seems to come as part of the package. We're very humble. Amazingly humble, in fact. I think we may be the most humble creatures in existence.
Yes, we have it. Yeah, mission accomplished.
There's, and I don't think he would think to not do this gesture. He lifts up the sword and puts the sword next to his ear and like, hello?
So, as you guys are all discussing...
No response.
Okay, he's like, well, I was hoping it was that sort of sword, but it doesn't seem to be.
You get a sense that there is like a sentience to this blade, but it's not the kind of thing where it has a personality and is speaking to you. Like the sentience, it's almost like that personality is you a little bit. Like
it's the stamp it does on you. It's not like a talking, singing sword.
Yeah.
So, as you're doing this, if anyone glances at Lorum, he's gone white as a sheet and has just stopped talking and just staring into the middle distance.
Oh, Mr. Lorum, are you all right? And then he like sort of looks in the middle distance. I'm not quite used to these eyes yet. What are you seeing?
Did anyone else hear that?
I don't. Which part?
Hear what?
No.
Oh, yep. Yep, I'm hearing it. That you all aren't hearing that?
No.
No?
Oh. Well then.
Well, that's Tiamat, right?
Yeah, that's her.
Okay. What reward are you talking about? Do I just speak out loud? And I mean,
And
we can all hear you. If you just,
I don't generally play such secret messages out when I do a stream game because it leaves the audience out. So at this point, it's kind of in the air. So I'm gonna. This is Ethan. You are here. Your character Grin is hearing this voice speaking. Lorum also was hearing Lorum speaking to him as well. But we will say that this answer to your question gets kind of enters into both Lorum and Brin's mind, a reply. And Tiamat says, "What is it that you desire? What is it that you wish? Tell me. Many things are capable. I am capable of. Even here in Avernus, even as a prisoner in these lands."
I'm not getting into another one of these arguments or agreements. This is all you.
It speaks to you, Lorum. The voice, the 5 discordant voices speaking to you say, "You have proven yourself to be worthy I would allow for you to bend the knee to serve me, and in exchange, great power could be yours. If you bring this thing to me, I will grant you a favor.
Such a heavy decision requires thought.
If you make up your mind, you know where to find me.
Okay, no, she's hopefully not listening. Percentage estimate on us being able to just turn Zariel by presenting the sword. Let's do
100%!
Yes, thank you, Lulu. Let's do a cost-benefit analysis on this.
I mean, my thoughts are that just presenting her the sword is quite likely to just empower her to be a more effective leader down here. But
I don't think Zariel would be able to use this sword as she is now. I think that would go poorly. Likely for the sword.
well,
Also,
her soul is her soul bound though to anything?
It's bound to Asmodeus. She signed a deal.
But did she sign away her soul, or did she just sign that she would be
It says
to him?
Asmodeus.
Yeah.
I would think so.
But there must be some way to break it, otherwise our whole entire objective here is hopeless.
See,
I mean, our quest here is predicated that we can somehow break the city. We can somehow break the city's contract with Zariel. Isn't that right?
see, that's what I think. I think it's the literal contract. I've been thinking about this, and I think what we need to do is use the sword to literally destroy the contract. I'm on team
But
literal language.
Well, we could chop at the chains a bit. They were
Some
big
of-
chains, but this is a good sword.
some
That
of
was
us
totally.
didn't some of us see the actual moment where she agreed
Oh, I
in
think
the
we're
previous.
thinking of the wrong agreement. It's not so much the agreement between Zariel and Asmodeus that we need to break as the agreement between El Terrell Hellriders at the
Right.
code
Uh,
something.
The Code
Resolute. Yes. Yes. That agreement is the one we need to break to free El Terrell.
That's verbal, right? Don't all of the Eltrellians just say
Well-
some oath or something?
I think there's always a thing.
So they place their hand on the that book.
Okay, so the
That puts
book.
their-
We just need to
yeah.
destroy the book. Chop it in half.
I'm not normally
Verbal
for stabbing books, but I'm willing to give this one a try.
Verbal contracts are also legally binding at times, though. I don't know if that's it.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
Especially one made with. I mean, that was just made between. What's his face, the leader of El Terrell and Zariel, right? That bound the Hellriders and the city itself.
I believe so. I'm a little foggy on the when, as to whether they were bound to Zariel as she was an angel or as she is a demon. But in either case, it does seem like contracts can be broken.
right. And I feel like we have a actual physical sword, and there is an actual physical book or contract. So it's worth a try. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We swipe
So
it and
if we
nothing happens.
destroy, but if we destroy the book, we're only destroying the oath that the Hellriders took to the city. That is not that's just for their individual souls.
Yes,
Was
but
it?
that should return the city.
But Krieg signed a contract directly with Zariel for the city and the companion. They're two
So-
separate contracts. To free the city, we'd have to destroy one. To free the people, we'd have to destroy another, right?
Oh, yes.
Because we found a copy of Krieg's
Well,
contract.
I think
in
it's the
that cube.
Yes, I think it's the companion ones that's the trouble.
But I think El Terrell being summoned to hell was part of the companion. Because wasn't the companion disappearing what started El Terrell being transported to hell? Wasn't the companion a portal? Ended up being? That was the original report when we were found out that El Terrell had disappeared, so had the companion.
Yes. But I would think that those big chains holding it down are there for a reason. So if we break the chains or the companion or the contract, we should be okay. I really think the solution is a sword to something. I'm almost certain.
I agree.
Yes, this would be Khrushchev's sword otherwise. They wouldn't mention it in the first act of our heroic tale if it wasn't going to come into play here in the fourth act.
Laura,
I forget
give
if-
me
yes,
a intelligence check. You've always taken an interest in contracts and such, and that has only progressed since you've been in hell.
Well, this is... I have proficiency in that, right?
I don't have a
that's one of the
contract
things we-
law proficiency, so it's just a straight intelligence check.
No, I thought that was one of the. I always thought that was one of the things he gave me during character creation. Was I had proficiency on any checks involving contracts. I put it on my sheet, but I'll just roll a straight one.
I think it was
decide
just
later.
an RP, like I'm giving you this check right now because of your
Okay.
interest in such
All
things.
right, well, 18.
So
That's
with an
still pretty
18,
good.
yep. So you feel really really strongly about the idea that the book probably isn't the thing that'll help you out here, as it is only a record and not the true contract. I think you saw the contract, or at least a replica of the contract at some point. It was the thing that was in that little cube box.
Yeah, we gave it to the wizard at Candlekeep.
And that
The,
it was just a
Krieg's
copy.
of
You
it.
you had
Yeah.
figured out that was a copy, not the original anyway. But
Zariel will be holding the original.
So we go to Zariel and
Bargain for it
make a
to
case?
destroy it.
well, I think we don't necessarily need to bargain, but maybe just appeal to her sense of loyalty to her people. I mean, we saw in the memory that she deeply cares for them. So if we can convince her that being in hell is resulting in children being tricked out of their souls with cookies and other such things, maybe she'll be willing to listen.
Well, I've always been a good talker. I feel if we prepare, we could try. But I think that's the angle, not to first convince her to turn, but to first convince her to destroy that contract. And in the act of that, it might be the encouragement she needs to take the next step herself.
Seems reasonable to me.
So, does that mean we have to find that floating fortress?
Yeah, but Lulu should be able to help, right?
Yeah, but getting into that floating fortress sounds challenging.
But Lulu might be able to help.
Hopefully.
Well, I think whichever we decide, despite all the recent changes and you know, I mean they're very nice. I could still very much use just a few, maybe say
Yes.
8 hours of quiet time to reflect upon all these changes.
8? That's unusual for you, Haplos.
Well, I usually spend about 4 of them holding still and 4 of them polishing things, and I've got a lot of new things to all my nubs are gone.
I do miss the polka dot pattern.
I mean, this is objectively this is perfect, but still, I do miss it a little bit.
It
There's
lacks
something
character.
about crafting it yourself versus it spontaneously becoming you, I guess.
So that's what we'll do. We'll do this. Do we want to consider Tiamat as a backup plan?
It's always good to have backup plans.
Does while goddess and all, mother of dragons and quite an accomplished woman, lady dragon, does she have anything that we would want? I don't know that she would specialize in freeing Elturels.
But isn't she like... I can only assume she's the second most powerful entity in all of the Abyss.
True.
Second only to Asmodeus.
Well, I would think... I'm not entirely certain, but I would think perhaps third, because I think Zariel is her boss. But in either
She's
case...
saying she'll break the chains. If we bring the sword to her, she'll break the chains.
See, I knew that was the way to do it. Just let me take a few whacks at him.
I mean, honestly, we could go just down there and whack away a little bit. What's the harm? But
I mean,
It
guess
is possible.
I guess
one
if I
thing
broke
that
one.
one thing I do want to, just in case it plays into how your characters are conceptualizing how easy, difficult that is. There is a huge battle with demons and devils happening at the base of where those chains are. So just factor that in if your characters are like thinking about that. It's not.
if we
to
have
say
a
it's an
dragon,
impossible
if we have a
thing.
team of dragons, and
A 5-headed dragon.
Oh, yes, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that Tiamat would be able to clear the rabble and so on. I just wonder
I doubt we would.
Yes, but I just wonder if Tiamat wanted to clear the rabble and Zariel wanted to destroy the city, I think Zariel would probably manage. So I do think, if not having her free the city, at least having her allow it to go, that might be a step in the right direction.
She's our backup plan.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, that's... If things go wrong with Zariel, Zariel knows our intent. She might just raise El Terrell to the ground immediately. Having a 5-headed
she
dragon
would have done.
on standby.
Yes, well, on standby.
well, I mean, but think about it. She has use for the city and for its inhabitants. So
Not really. She already owns their souls. If they die, she gets to actually cash them in.
Oh, only the adults, and because otherwise Dr. Blackcloak wouldn't have been able to make his cookie
I'm
rounds.
pretty sure all the children have been picked off by other devils by now.
they were a rather dull bunch, I have to say.
The
But
children.
yes,
That's a little dire.
Aplos, we've been in
not.
hell for weeks, months, who knows? It's been dire since day one.
I'm an angel now. If not for the unfortunate business with the unicorn, I think I'd have an amazing steed. And Stevia, well, comes and goes, but still, this has been a rather good adventure. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to. Ow.
okay.
I don't know how to handle this. Yes.
Sleep. I think is our
So,
first task.
That does seem
certainly,
wise.
we take a long rest. You're having a debate about the merits of different things as you do so. And hey, Chris, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. So I don't know. There's probably some minor incidents that happen throughout the night, but you deal with them, and come
Morning.
after you feeling good. I don't know. Morning is not really the right word, but you've been debating throughout the night.
Do you
I
suppose?
feel like it's always morning with Aplos. He's like a nightlight. You can't turn off.
Well, when I put the sword away, I go down to just personal luminescence. But do you suppose before we did much else, we could stop by Maggie's?
What do you want to do with Maggie?
Well, there were those souls that we had in the demon grinder. I was hoping to do a bit about that, and well, I mean, we do sort of owe her a debt. I wouldn't wish to leave any unpaid
Also,
debts behind.
Grin, what was in your contract again? If
Referring
Black
to-
Cloak dies, you do too?
Yes, also that's bad.
Yeah, we need to renegotiate that.
I'm pretty sure we can scare the living shit out of him now.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
I mean, I offered the sword to him, but you all didn't.
That's-
so
that's-
was
that's-
good.
I feel like that was negotiating at a disadvantage. Disadvantageously.
I don't know. Maybe it was Cliff's rumor coming true. Gotta keep an eye on that Bryn.
Oh no.
But we do have that other fortification that we said that we would assault. We could take care of that, pay off Mad Maggie, destroy the demon grinders, free the souls, and then on to dealing with Zariel, who we should hopefully have located in that time.
Aplos, I do want to caution you just a moment with the souls. As someone who was quite recently dead, well, sweetie, there was nothing there for me, and we might be sending them off to an as well.
Oh, actually, I had a bit of a epiphany about that. You see, what you need to do is declare yourself for one of the gods, much like the commoners are declared for particular nobility, and therefore the gods then take responsibility for ushering you into the appropriate afterlife. So since you haven't committed yourself fully to one of the gods, now I do think Lathander's a bit of a dick, but there are other better gods out there.
Agreed. But in this situation, are we like baptizing the souls before we send them off? Like, how are we going to ensure that they actually get anywhere?
Well, with these, they're actually up against destruction. So any amount of opportunity for them, it's a bit late for them to declare, as they're a bit dead now. But if left in the demon grinder, from what I understand, they will be destroyed utterly. And if we free them, there's at least a chance that they can recover. And that's really what we want to give them: chance, hope.
Okay, but I'm just telling you that from my experience, you know, my soul giving power to this dark universe is actually functional. And where I was, there was no function or form or anything. So, you know, who's to say that they're not better off having some purpose?
Well, yes, you would want them to have
Okay,
purpose.
I don't
but
know
you
if I like that.
don't want to destroy them utterly.
My vote is that we go to Zariel, and either way, we either destroy her, we have an angel, or we convince her to release the city.
Yeah.
I feel
mean-
like going after soul coins is... That's not going to stop the practice of them if we only save 5, 6 of them.
Then we'll have saved 5 or 6 of them.
That's true. But if it's okay, let me ask you this. what if, hypothetically, we can save 5 or 6 souls that potentially just go into, dark nothingness. But if we do that, it somehow makes it so that we can't save the city. So you had to choose the city or the soul coins. Which decision would you make?
6 or
City.
thousands? Yeah.
City. Okay.
City.
All right. So just so that we're clear, if it comes to that, the soul coins might have to be abandoned.
Oh, well, yes, I understand that.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. That they are a bonus.
Well, I suppose.
And Bryn, this might be your last chance to free yourself.
How so?
I mean, if this sword is capable of breaking contracts, would you have any desire to seek out yours?
Yeah. I think so.
That's Blackcloak. He's a level 3 demon. Or devil. I'm pretty sure if we can find a contract, we win.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I feel like I'm probably just a level 0 angel. I haven't really... No Halo.
But we've killed greater devils than him. We killed Haruman.
That's true.
I don't think he'd really be a problem. I mean, honestly, I think like you said, I think we can intimidate him. Just give
I'm
me the
also good at
contract.
intimidating. I don't look like it, but I'm good at
But,
it.
I have all this power now. If I break this contract, I'm not going to have anything to help anyone.
Yeah, but
You'd have yourself, Ren. I mean,
magic can be learned in other ways.
Not by me. I mean, I'm not smart or...
I learned my magic.
I don't know. It just...
Ren.
That kind of stuff doesn't happen to us.
You could also take a pact with someone else.
Well, I mean...
Someone
Doc-
stronger, you mean?
Bryn, remember what I told you about deciding if you want to be like me or not? I think we've come to a fork in the road for you. Are you really wanting to commit yourself to going down this path with Blackcloak?
No. I mean... Blackcloak's, like you said, Laurel, he's only a level 3 devil. He's not that powerful.
Do you have to make a pact with the devil? Can you make a pact with any greater being? Does it have to be someone evil?
I feel like
know.
Atlas would
No
have
one
like a
else
list
has
of
given me
gods.
the
now.
chance. I mean, honestly, Lathander didn't really do much.
I don't think he does.
None of the other gods do. I mean, Blackcloak gave me a chance, and I mean, hell, even Gargoth gave me a chance. These people are actually listening to me.
I mean,
Well, then
Dr.
what's your plan, though, Bryn?
Bryn is gonna take a step back and just, look around and shout loudly, "I accept."
Oh.
And as you say that, you all see Bryn's tiny little body. She becomes kind of suspended in the air, limp. And words are filtering into your mind, Bryn. A pledge to make to her.
All right.
Miss
And
Bryn,
I'll let you
you're floating a bit.
I'll let you improv that if you'd like, but your
Okay.
pledge to the Queen of
Okay.
Dragons.
I Bryn Herthley, on the condition that my soul is released from the servitude of Blackcloak, the devil, hereby pledge my soul and allegiance to Tiamat, mother of dragons, rightful lady of the first lord of hell, Avernus, and be it known unto starting this day.
Oh, Miss Bryn.
And then you are lowered down, and your feet touch down to the ground. And you all notice as Bryn sprouts wings. I'll say your choice, Bryn. What color dragon would you like to have some aspects of?
Oh dang. I don't even know what all the dragons. We'll go with red. Red
Red is
dragon.
fire.
Red
Yep.
wings. There are going to be some mechanical benefits to this that I'll make up, but you'll have a fly speed. You've got wings. You'll have resistance to fire damage, and at the very least, a breath weapon, which you can use.
Totally worth it.
Oh boy.
She gets back down and kind of just smiles at everyone and says, "All right, let's go free that city."
And in the distance, Bryn, you see like 3 dragons just soaring in the sky. Just out of nowhere, they're flying, finding a destination, going somewhere to solve a problem for you.
I got a lot of problems, so I don't know where they're going. But,
Yeah.
I think they're going to go and shake down one Dr. Blackcloak.
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be some well done cookies.
Mhm.
Oh no.
And you
just
feel
gonna look at Laurel.
moments later, you feel your soul not necessarily owned anymore. Yeah, you've made a pledge, you've made a deal, but not necessarily your soul.
Oh, great.
Your life, you are to serve.
So this is more like
Tiamat.
a servitude.
Yeah, but your
Alright.
your soul is yours. You are pledged to be in the service of Tiamat, whatever that would be, however she will direct you. But you can feel something changes in you. It feels good to know that within you that your soul is your property once more.
God.
Well,
Miss Evangeline, it's a bit like that, though usually a
so?
bit less dramatic, and I mean,
I don't know. Like, they're pretty nice, right?
yes, huh?
I'm just wondering how I'm suddenly presence of an angel and dragonish person. Like, life has ways of surprising you.
And Apples like looks over at you, and he's got the like silver film over his eyes, and he blinks a few times, and he blinks a few more, and he sort of looks away. It's like, Miss Evangeline, I don't wish there to be any, you know, secrets between us. I can't see your makeup anymore.
Oh. So you see
Uh-huh.
me. Oh,
It's
okay.
it's a little, actually, I don't think it would be popular in court, but while I'm getting used to it, I just wanted to let you know. Because it seemed a little you know, odd to be saying that it's curious to be in our presence.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's been a bit of a day.
And we
It
just spoke up.
really has.
Bryn is just doing like figure eights in the sky. It's like, are we gonna do this or not?
Yes, I think so.
So, you are all making your way then, it sounds like, to El Terrell?
No, that's not what I want to do. That's not what Lauren wants to do.
Okay. Yeah, I don't exactly know, so go ahead and reconfigure if you need to. That was like the last thing that I was gathering, but
Yeah, I think we wanted to
We
go
had-
to
Yeah, we
Zariel
had an idea,
first.
but then
maybe?
Grin went
I
and
thought we
did
were gonna
that.
go to Zariel.
I think Zariel first, and then
Tiamat was the backup plan, which
And
we now
now-
have in both pockets because of Bird.
You got me.
yeah,
You got
Tiamat's
me.
become.
sure.
Zariel
So
either gives up the city or faces the wrath of Tiamat. Let's
sounds
go.
good. So you've got the river Styx in view. You know, you can make two choices, one way or the other, but with Lulu in tow, and you've got some things that'll suggest to you which way is the right way to get to the city. And you begin to make your journey following the river Styx, and in due time, El Terrell will be able to be seen by you all.
Are we
Some
going
distance.
Are we going to El Terrell or that floating fortress that Zariel was on?
Last time you saw it, it was headed to El Terrell.
Oh,
Okay.
So,
it's there.
The one and the
Oh, no.
same. We're just,
yeah.
Because
Maybe.
El Terrell is currently being held basically above the river Styx, and that fortress basically is a pillar that skims along the river, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So you last time you saw that pillar, that big tower before it was headed in that direction, and I mean, things are going down. You'll see now that you're approaching El Terrell. Zariel is here, right? This is her prize. She worked so hard to bring it here, and now it is the front lines of the blood war. So as you approach, you see that floating fortress is there. We'll get to that. But you also see that the city of El Terrell no longer is it hundreds of feet in the air. It is tens of feet looming over the river Styx. The chains that bind it, conflict is no longer down on the shores of the river Styx. Demons are crawling and making their way up. They have broken through, and the blood war is now being fought directly in the streets of El Terrell.
Oh no.
You can sort of hear the sounds of battle as it's off in your distance. You've come to the area, but just kind of this ambient noise of battle is perceptible to you all as you arrive. But the thing that you were looking for is looming near. A structure nearly 450 feet tall. It kind of looks like this, like a tower, just a tower that emerges right over the river Styx. A dark hell-forged steel. You notice that at its base there seems to be what you can only describe as maybe like a pipe or something like that is built right into the structure. It seems to be siphoning off energy directly off of the river Styx, keeping it afloat. As you're kind of gazing at the structure, even though most of the action is happening at El Terrell, there are things happening here on this tower. You notice several hobgoblins are clinging to the side of the standing tower, the structure, on belaying lines. Maybe half a dozen of them or so. Hard to say what they are doing exactly, but they have climbed up there. And there is a battle that is happening overhead in the sky. Winged devils are making contact with hobgoblins that are on hang gliders and such, and they're duking it out, battle back and forth. Some of the hobgoblins are casting magic, repelling these winged devils. But the most notable thing that you see is what appears to be a flying infernal war machine, the size of a long ship. This gigantic structure has two giant, like, turbines that kind of on the wings of the structure, and overhead, propeller blades that keep it afloat, maneuvering around this flying fortress. One might refer to this as a helicopter. This is my tribute to all of Casey's puns. It's the best I could come up with. That is what you see.
A question. El Terrell, as it's there and the helicopters are going all about, does it look like the reason she wants El Terrell is because when it comes down, it's going to make a bridge over the Styx? Like, can we suss out what aside from the couple of souls and the pride point, is there a military reason or something that we're like, why does she care?
Definitely not the bridge thing, because it wouldn't be wide enough. Like if this thing comes down, it will fully submerge into the river.
So it's not
there'd
like
still be like a gap there. Yeah.
Okay.
From the shore. So from that standpoint, the tactical reason why she may want this submerged into the River Styx probably isn't apparent.
Okay. I still don't understand why she's so hung up on El Terrell. You would have thought after all this time fighting to avenge them. But, well, I mean, I suppose we'll get to ask.
Yeah. Let's ask her.
As you are pondering that, suddenly from up where those hobgoblins are, you see them all kind of like lower themselves down, maybe like 75 feet on that rappel line, as kind of off kilter from where they are, a huge explosion opens up, and you just all look on in sort of wonderment at this, to see this thing get blown open like this, because there's a huge cavity now on the side of this structure. And almost instantaneously with that happening, you see some like doors open up on the helicopter flying machine that is hovering kind of right over that. And you can just see like a bunch of hobgoblins are like air gliding into this structure. And among them, a very familiar devil, Bitter Breath. The fiend that you went after. You had scouted out his palace some time ago, his fortress some time ago, as a favor to Mad Maggie. He is here and making some play on Zariel's fortress independently from the blood war situation that's happening in the city proper.
Oh, look, this is why you don't leave promises undone. They always come back around. Are we in a position where, like, someone could reach out with a shiny sword and maybe snip some lines and send some hobgoblins falling?
It is, like,
or is it
very
still
high up. So
okay.
you'd have to fly up. Like, you could do that. You have the capabilities amongst you all to fly up there and do such things.
Miss Britton, we might want to go and help out with that. I don't know that it'll earn us much favor in Lady Zariel's eyes, but every little bit helps.
I think now more than ever we need to make an entrance. She comes over to everyone and I guess casts fly on everyone, because she can cast fly at 6th level, so that should get everyone.
You all have a flying speed as that is cast.
Did we need to do that with Lulu?
It's cooler this way.
Well, if we were on with Lulu, we would have only been able to fly on Lulu, but now we can move independently, right?
Fall prevention.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Lulu, can you ram a hole through whatever flying contraption that is?
You want me to ram a hole in the flying ship up there?
Yeah, the one that's attacking the flying fortress.
Well,
they're hurting Zariel.
They're trying to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, you just see Lulu like really sours at the two of you. She's like, "This entire time, you have treated me like I was an idiot."
Not that you were an idiot, but that you were confused. I guess it takes some getting used to that. But they are trying to kill Zariel, objectively.
She just flies over by Grin, who has never steered her wrong, and she sulks.
Now, Lulu, it's okay. They're just teasing you. You want to help us?
Now is not the time.
Well,
I'm gonna turn around and I want to try and apologize and perhaps persuade that I had never intended it that way before or ever.
You spend some time mending the relationship between you and Lulu, and you know, okay, you know, she gets over it and she's her happy bubbly self. But at that point, you see the flying ship has done what it has needed to do and flies away. Regardless of any kind of damage you might have wanted to do to it, it's getting barraged by these devils that are trying to get it the heck away, trying to defend Zariel's fortress, and so it kind of leaves, more of a troop transport than anything else. But nonetheless, there's a big gaping hole there in Zariel's flying fortress, and you probably suspect some kind of battle happening on the inside there. Some 300 feet up.
Honestly, I feel like Zariel can handle a couple hundred hobgoblins just fine.
Yes, but this, whatever the hell version of olive branch is, thorn whip?
Shall we
Yes.
go kill some hobgoblins?
With the thorn whip of peace.
So you begin
I'll start
to
flying up towards that hole.
fly up there. One second as I try to get this pulled up here for you. And we gotta get some tokens here on the map. So it is like incredibly like as you fly up here. I don't know if you want to like cut the lines of those hobgoblins that are still hanging to the side. There's not going to be a whole lot that they're probably going to be able to do to you at this point. So if you choose to do that, you can. But the majority of the action is happening on the inside of this cavity here.
And Aplos will be like, try to point your toes down as you hit the water, otherwise... Snap. I actually don't know what the proper advice is when falling into water, but I feel like point your toes down.
It's follow as straight as you can, like a pencil. That's what my diving instructor said.
So
And don't worry, you won't remember it.
as you all are flying up here and gazing into the flying tower, you can just see sparks kind of raining down from conduits of energy that power this entire thing. Almost like looking into some kind of a sci-fi scene of the destruction of the bridge, right? And you're looking in, and you can see this huge battle is happening. Bone devils surrounded by hobgoblins, being commanded by what appear to be the organizers, the captains of this assault. And many areas in the background. You don't see any sign of bitter breath here, but it would seem that as you are arriving on this scene here, you know, nobody's paying attention to you all flying up. They are in their own conflict, as it were. You hear, though, as you float on up, you hear a voice. You hear a voice calling out, "Thavius Krieg! Where is he? He is mine. He belongs to my lord. We know he's being held here. Give him up!" And this is a voice that is coming from somewhere else in the structure. You're not sure where. It's just kind of echoing throughout. What would you all like to do as you're taking this in?
I think we should follow that voice. There's a bunch of bone devils and against hobgoblins. Like, they're fine.
Yeah.
We should go try and find Thavius Creek first.
Agreed.
That does seem reasonable. And I suppose we only need to cut our way through those who object.
Lorem, you wanted to try to follow that voice.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me a perception check.
I am going to use my inspiration, which I have not used yet.
Okay.
That's the wrong one. This one.
All right.
Much better.
So, you hear, probably the 13 wasn't quite enough. I was looking for a 15 as it's just kind of a little chaotic here, but you do feel like the origination point of that voice is coming from this hallway here.
Oh, perfect. To the left, everyone. And then I'll start taking off down that way.
All right. So go ahead and kind of line yourselves up in like the marching order that you would like. It sounds like you're thinking, let's move. We can get past this initial battle here because they are so distracted, and you would be right in thinking so. So you got time to kind of, put yourselves in the order that you would want.
If I try to get back into Fantasy Grounds, is that going to mess everything up? Is it like, do I need to get into Fantasy Grounds for this, or can I?
No, we're just about to
Okay.
push pause here. So.
Okay.
So we will kind of roll with like this. You move on up there, and Aplos, as you turn the corner here. That is not what you see.
As we're like moving, Apple's like, "Oh, Mr. Lorem, I still don't have a clear understanding of the devils versus the demons. Which one should we not be causing troubles with?"
Devils.
Yes.
Devils are only a problem if it's on paper.
Yes, and of these up in front of us, which would they be?
I don't know. Aren't you an angel? Can't you figure that out?
Well, they're all sort of evil, so I kind of want to just smite them all.
So you turn the corner here, trying to make out some distinctions between who's your enemy, who's really your enemy. And you can see this next chamber, as you peek around the corner, contains a stripped-down metal console and several rusty pipes that are apparently suffering some damage here in this moment as this battle is taking place. You can see there is a hobgoblin that is armed with plate mail, sword, and shield in hand, has just finished felling a couple of winged devils. There's a spellcaster hobgoblin that is casting a few